Our first guest this afternoon founded a company with her husband that has a current valuation that's said to be $4 billion. They originally launched the website Houzz after they struggled to communicate ideas to architects and designers during their own home renovation. Since their start in 2009, the platform now has 40 million users and millions of images in a global online marketplace of furniture and architectural products. And I just bought a fantastic rug there last week. Please welcome Adi Tartarko with Fortune's Beth Cohen.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Well, it is very appropriate that we are kicking off the main stage conversation here with Adi. She is one of the few women running a unicorn. So company now valued at about $4 billion. So I want to start that with the story of Houzz. And that starts with your house. So where does it all begin?
With the house? We were innocent. We waited for years to buy our own first house. And we ended up finding a fixer-upper. And we had big, big dreams of how wonderful that's going to be to create our own nest. Reality wasn't far from dreamy. We really struggled finding great professionals, architects, designers, contractors that will understand what we want to do for the budget that we had and translate everything that we wanted to do into the real project. Even finding great ways to illustrate what we had in our heads while we are not professionals was really a struggle. We ended up, a year after started the process, throwing it all away and starting all over again because we couldn't afford the plans that the professionals presented, and we didn't even like them. And we figured there must be a better way of doing it. This is something that people are so passionate about. This is our homes. You know, we were dreaming about it for years, and the process was so broken. And Houzz was born as a local side project of ourselves with our community, 20 parents from our kids' school, a few professionals, architects and designers from the Bay Area, coming together and saying, yes, this is broken and we can fix it if we'll come together as a community and we'll build the right technology to communicate with each other. So Alon, my husband, coded the original website. I was putting the community on both sides together. At some point, it started taking off on its own by word of mouth. No money, no other people. We were working full-time, raising our kids. And it became a pretty massive side project, nights and weekends.
When do you decide to make that leap from side project to full-time gig?
So it was over a year after we started that we already had about 300,000 users a month visiting the platform and many professionals as well. So it was both sides of the marketplace. And then we met somebody that told us that we are pretty much crazy. Yeah. I keep doing it as a side project. And if we're not going to raise money and bring more people to help us, somebody else will.
Right.
And then we had to think again, whether we want to keep running it as a side project. We had lots of great indication from the community that this is growing really big and outside of the Bay Area, but we needed somebody to come and tell us that we are really, really crazy if we're not doing it, to kind of take a deep breath and go all the way with it.
But you were hesitant to take funding in the beginning and also to even show ads on the site, something that sort of bucked the norms of traditional startups in some way. Did that help you that you sort of didn't know what you were doing in a lot of ways?
I think that we knew what we were doing. What we didn't know is that we're actually bootstrapping something that is going to become a very big company. And that was very, very helpful because in retrospect, we learned how to do everything by ourselves. We were so lean with our approach because we didn't have the funds to sponsor everything. So we had to figure out the best way and most efficient ways to do everything. And finally, when we got to the point that we wanted to bring investors on board, which was a big, big decision, we no longer had to prove that we have a good idea in hand, because 300,000 users with no marketing spent on it definitely proved that it's quite a good idea. And we also didn't have to prove that we can execute it, because without money, we were able to do that. And I think that many times, first-time founders do struggle with convincing investors that they do have a good idea or they can scale it. When you come to investor from that point of your project, they come to you, and you can really talk to the best investors out there. So we were very, very fortunate on that front, not knowing what we're doing, but really knowing what we want to do and being very, very passionate about it.
So you told me the statistic that something like 12% of couples consider divorce when they are renovating or remodeling their homes. Probably sounds familiar to a lot of people in this room. So not only did you kind of get through this remodel, but you actually run your company with your husband. How does that work?
Yeah, so both are true. In terms of the 12%, we did started running surveys early days and getting lots of feedback from our community. And that was so prominent that so many people said, oh, that's the most awful process. And 12% did say we did consider seriously a divorce during that process. In terms of me running the company with Alon, it's his joke, so I won't steal it. I'm giving him the full credit. And laughing about me, he's telling everybody it's so much easier running the company with her than remodeling the house with her. So here is the answer, which is true.
So how do you make it work? I mean, you obviously spend a lot of time together at work, at home. What's it like?
I think that what works for us is, one, we know what each other is really good at and our strengths and weaknesses. We also trust each other. We've been together for 22 years, almost 23. And we just know, right? Things that Alon is very good at, I trust him to do well, and vice versa. And it's true also for home. So when you have your interests aligned, when you have your heart in the same place, we're not founders that come from different backgrounds and we have different agenda. Many times we see founders want to exit, the other one wants to continue until the far future. One wants to run something just because needs immediate money. The other one is not having that pressure. We actually, while we took a very big risk of putting all our eggs literally in one basket, but our heart is in the same place, our interest is in the same place, and we work together on something that we believe is the best both for our family and for the company, and just juggle in between and really focus on what is the best thing that each one of us can contribute on both fronts and build the whole structure around it. It's very, very helpful, actually.
So I want to open up to questions in 1 second, but first I want to ask how you landed on your title. So you're CEO. How did that negotiation work?
For a change, we didn't have to negotiate. We negotiate many other things in life. I usually win. No, I'm kidding. I didn't win when we had to move to the Silicon Valley. That's something that he wanted and I didn't. And I actually said over my dead body, and you see my dead body here for 17 years already, or God knows how long. So no, he actually felt, given what each one of us is doing, that you should be the CEO, he said. And I said, okay. So it's really not about the titles for us because we're both running everything together. And it was very, very clear which areas Alon should run and which areas I should run because we have complementary skill set and different background. And so it's not that I'm not involved in the areas that he's running or vice versa, but titles to us when it comes to our family didn't really matter. And he was just the gentleman here and he said, you take it.
Do we have questions? We have one in the front. If you could just wait for the mic to get to you. Do we have a mic? No. Okay, please stand up. Tell us who you are.
It's Julie Eaton with Korean Design. I was interested when you talked about bringing your community together of people trying to renovate their houses. So we know a lot on the consumer side, but you also talked about architects and designers. So what is their benefit, and how did that initial group, what did they get out of the whole experience?
That's a great question, because one of the things that we faced as the original users of Houzz, we were the first homeowners using it, was the discrepancy between what we wanted to do, and then when we reached out to professionals and we showed them a picture from a magazine and we said, we think that something like this, they said, great, you have $1 million because this is what it's going to cost. And we said, no, we only have 15,000. And I said, educate yourself before you come to us. So there was lots of frustration on the other side that people come to them with high expectations and not understanding what is involved, and they really wanted to get the clients to the point when they want something, they understand what they're asking them to do. So from the beginning, when we started working with the professionals, it was very important to them to provide their input so that they will be able to educate the consumers and then get and filter the consumers based on the relevancy to what they want to do. It really, really helped. At the beginning, there was some skepticism, outside of the initial group, whether that's going to work. All these professionals together in one place. There was one that was so skeptical, said, "We are not horses that you're only going to put all of us together and just present us to the world." And I said, "Okay, you don't have to." And then a few months later, she saw specifically that everybody else is joining, and she started uploading projects like crazy. She says, "Okay, I get it. I need to be part of it too." It was not about how they compete with each other. It was more about, this is the world now. If you want to be out there and you want to find the best clients that you're relevant for, you need to be out there. Let people use technology to find you. You can't count any longer just on organic by word of mouth referrals, because that's going to really limit the number of clients that you're going to get at the end of the day. So it was a lot for them in the beginning to invest in. And today we have 1.5 million professionals all over the world that are very active on a monthly basis on Houzz, collaborating with 40 million people every single month all over the world. So it paid off for them. They're getting business, not just from the local areas. Many of them actually build businesses outside of the immediate area. And 3% of the designers, for example, last year conducted work outside of their states and continents. So it's pretty massive. It helped to break borders and cross borders, and really educate and bring them the best clients at the best point in time, where they learned a lot about them by reading the reviews about them, seeing their portfolio, asking questions, and understanding that the match is really there before contacting them.
Great. Do we have any other questions from the audience? One right here. We've got a mic now.
Hi, I think you have multiple...
Sorry, can you tell us who you are?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Katie Koch, Goldman Sachs. I think you have multiple revenue streams, but one of them is that people can buy merchandise off the site and you take a commission, but the order is fulfilled by the vendor. So the good news is the commission, but potentially the bad news is that you're disintermediated from the customer and you're not sure if they're going to have a great experience. So I'm wondering how you guys monitor that, and then follow up to that, how you see yourself competing with Wayfair going forward.
So both our revenue channels, and you mentioned it before, we didn't want to start monetizing early days because we felt there are so many different opportunities given the community and how deep the platform is. We should wait, build the best customer experience-based, user experience-based product, and then get the input from the community of what we should build for them. And indeed, both revenue channels that we picked later on came as a demand from the community. So first one was the demand from the professionals, help us build our brand locally. We're already getting clients from all over the world. Help us get the local awareness to build our brand in a certain area. The second one was actually the demand from the community that we didn't plan originally, to get all the products and materials that they see in the pictures on Houzz. So from early days when we build the product, we had these swinging tags. If you have the app, you probably know it, that shows you all the product and materials and paint colors and where you can get it, and took you to thousands of different vendors and sellers to source these products. That was one of our frustrations early days, that we saw all these things, but we didn't know where to get them. So we said at the very minimum, we need to bring all this data together and give it to the users. And then we started getting lots of phone calls to the office from many of our users, both professionals and homeowners, and saying, we need support. Where is the add to cart? We saw this swinging tag showing us this material, but we don't know how to add this to cart. Or phone call saying, we saw this bathtub. Can you ship it to Alaska? Do you ship to Hawaii? And we said, what do you mean? Here you have all these vendors and sellers, go to them and buy it. So the feedback from the community started being, this is great, but we're doing everything using the tools that you provided. We are planning everything. We're getting from the inspiration, seeing the data, finding the good people that will help us, getting lots of support from the community. But we need to close this. We need to get all the products and materials from the pictures on Houzz directly. You need to vet all these vendors. and sellers for us. So that was a very strong feedback for many people. We build it for them based on their feedback. And I think that's how we build support around it and navigate through the third-party sellers.
So unfortunately, we're out of time. Find Adi after to talk about Wayfair. But thank you so much
Of course.
for making the time.
Well,
Really
thank you.
Thanks.